Good afternoon. In this video, I'm going to show you how a minister in the South would have read Ephesians 5 and Colossians 3, or Ephesians 6, and how he would change the words. Remember, the Confederate Constitution has the word Negro slavery. It doesn't have just slavery. And these issues of Paul is regulating slavery. He's telling how they're supposed to, because if slavery is a reality, that's to be regulated. It's not saying he's for it. These guys think slavery was instituted by God, and that's what Robert Baker puts down there on his thing, on his little list. When he deals with the 1Ti.6. Hoffman said freeing the slaves in the 13th Amendment was blasphemous. So what are these guys really talking about? They're talking about a particular type of slavery, a particular group being enslaved. The Negro. That's why they go back to Genesis 9 all the time. Servant of servants. So you look at, so how would they read in Ephesians 6:5? They would say, oh, you can't come free slaves. You can't be against slavery because God allows slavery or regulates slavery. You can't be against slavery and you can't free slaves? So how would they read it? Here in Ephesians 6:5, instead of the word servants there, they would say Negro slaves. So they would read, Negro slaves, be obedient to them that are your masters, according to the flesh. Yeah, that's how they read it. Negro slaves. That's how they have it in the Constitution. Colossians 3, how would they read it? (3:22) for his servants, they would read it according to us. Negro slaves. Of course, the word Negro is not there, is it? But the way they set up in the Constitution, in the Confederates, remember the South is right, people. Remember Buckman says, anybody who says the South is wrong, is ignorant, doesn't know anything, is, divisive, blah, 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 right? Right? Blasphemy, 13th Amendment, freeing slaves. So they would read that word servants as being Negro slaves. And of course, you get 1Ti.6:1. How would you read that? That would say, let as many Negro slaves as are under the yoke. See, they say the word servants. They don't think of slaves. They think of Negro slaves. And Breaker takes the idea that because God regulated slavery and talked about slavery during a time when slavery was going to existed throughout the Roman Empire, and told how a person in slavery is supposed to handle his slavery and not rebel, and the master is supposed to treat his slaves. So he thinks that means that slavery was good. But he says, oh, I'm against slavery. I don't want to own slaves. But he's saying, well, you're saying according to a biblical society. Everything in that biblical society, people, is good. Why wouldn't slavery be good? Nationalism is good. Marriage is good. Family is good. All the things that the bride of God to the church is good. All the things he puts there are good. All of a sudden, slavery is not good. He's saying, well, God allowed slavery. Yeah, God allowed slavery. But he never says it's good. You know how twisted your mind has to be? So the abolitionists who are advocating freeing slaves, they were bad people. The 13th Amendment was blasphemous because it freed 3 million people, according to Hoffman. If you say the South was wrong because they had slaves, you're going against wholesome words. And what is Waker? Well, that's what the verses say. They're demented people. They expect to keep you ignorant of the truth of what they were teaching. The Jim Crow laws, what were they about? Jim Crow laws, what were they about? It's about keeping the races apart. Why are they against interracial marriage? Why? Because they don't believe in race mixing. Robert Baker tells you that a child born from an interracial marriage is harder to save. Oh, but that's okay. I'll stop and put this up. Amen. Thank you.